Folks, this is Student Affairs Live, your weekly web show for student affairs professionals about topics that student affairs professionals want to learn more about. My name is Stoller, and we have an awesome show today. I am just psyched. We've got a whole panel of students that are going to be coming on the show here in just a little bit. They're from the University of Arizona Student Union's social media team, and they've got all sorts of things to talk about. It's going to be an awesome show. Folks, if you have questions, if you want to tweet some stuff out, the hashtag for our show is SAlive, #SAlive. We are part of the Higher Ed Live network, so please follow the @HigherEdLive Twitter account. Ardith will be tweeting out all sorts of information. She's our intern. She does a great job. You have questions. She's got answers. We'll be asking your questions on the air as well. Folks, Student Affairs Live could not be possible without our sponsor. We're sponsored by Integral, the creators of the Schools app on Facebook. Be sure to check out their webinar series about how they can help you leverage Facebook to increase yield and retention. And that happens this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're sending out a tweet with that link right now. All right, so big week in the news. Obviously, I'm scouring what's going on, so I like to do a little feature on the show called Challenge and Support, my little homage to one of our favorite student development theorists. So the first thing this week that I saw on the news, really quickly, was the NASPA Tech Student Affairs Technology Conference. The schedule is out. That's right. The whole event schedule is finally out online on the web right now, so feel free to check it out. All sorts of sessions. Seems like social media is definitely the flavor of the conference this year, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. It happens in Newport next month. So, little self-promo here. I did a post this week, yesterday actually, about listservs and the unsubscribe me meme. Let me tell you, if you've ever been a member of a listserv, this is the post for you to read. Because let me tell you, I was on one recently where at least 350 people replied with unsubscribe to the entire list over and over again. Please do everyone a favor, all of us a favor. Learn how listservs work. Please figure out how to unsubscribe properly, because this is just ridiculous. Switching gears to a school that I can barely name on this show because I don't want the folks at the University of Arizona to get upset with me, but a little school down the road called Arizona State University has done some experiments with near-field communication and cell phones. It's really neat. What they're doing is they're allowing students to do some transactions with their phones, pay for public transit, pay for some dining points or some meals in the residence halls, as well as purchasing merchandise. It's really cool because you can just do it with your phone. You don't have to carry around an ID. It's something that Google has talked about quite a bit with Google Wallet. So yeah, NFC, look for it in your phone in the future. It's going to be sort of your digital wallet where you don't have to carry around as much gear, which is going to be kind of nice, let me tell you. All right, so let me tell you, the College of Charleston student body president, he was almost impeached the other day because of some things that he was saying on Twitter. People were saying that the things that he was saying were deemed to be racist, sexist, all sorts of isms and just really oppressive things that you don't want coming out of the mouth or the tweets of a leader. And he was actually not impeached. They voted to try to impeach him, and they didn't actually get the votes to do it. And what was interesting is the gentleman who's the college president there, or the student president, Ross Kressel, actually had some things to say afterwards, which was really interesting. He said if he's not going to say anything on Twitter anymore that would upset your mom. That's sort of his gauge, I guess, for whether or not he should be posting it. And it's almost kind of a bummer that he didn't get impeached, because here was a guy who's doing a lot of damage, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he recovers, how the community recovers when one of your presidents, your student presidents, is really saying some hurtful things that impact a wide swath of your community. So not sure how he's going to be able to lead effectively after saying the things that he said about so many different groups of people. Keeping in line with the Twitter theme here, really interesting news coming out of Twitter. They just introduced Twitter Web Analytics, which for those of us that use social media quite a bit, and this is of interest obviously to my guests on the show, Web Analytics and Twitter is something that we really haven't had. We've had to use outside services like Bitly or just our Google Analytics to track our links, that type of thing. But now Twitter's actually going to sort of open up the ability for us to see our stats through Twitter, and it's going to be doled out sort of limited amounts here in the next week or so, and then open up hopefully to the greater community here in the future, which I think is really neat, and it's about time because we need to see some stats, some analytics from Twitter. Great article today from Diverse Issues in Higher Education about how college leaders really need to focus on sort of those students who are near completers, students who are, in this case, they were sort of deemed as the low-hanging fruit. These are students who They're almost done. They've got just a few credits left, and for whatever reason, they sort of dropped out of the system. And so we really want to focus on getting some folks who are so close to the finish line, getting them through and getting them back in, completing their degree. So I thought it was a really interesting article from Diverse Issues, as all of them are on that website. Last but not least, a really fun article from the Huffington Post about how to differentiate yourself in 1 minute flat, and it comes courtesy of the folks at Boston University. They have sort of a campus culture about customer service here at BU that's all about, if you see someone standing on, say, Comm Avenue and they're looking at the campus map, you got to go up to them and say hi and ask them if you can help out. And it's actually, they call it sort of a fireable offense if you didn't help out. So I love the sort of organizational culture at BU around getting folks connected and just sort of that spirit of helping folks out. All right, so that is the news for the week. So every week, as you know, I like to give an unsolicited shout out of the week. Could be a person, place, a service, an association, etc. It's just someone that's done an amazing job or sort of had an impact on folks in the web in sort of a greater capacity. And this week's unsolicited shout out goes to Carlin Morissette. Carlin works at Southern New Hampshire University, and she's the director of social media. And she wrote a really good post today that came out on the .edu Guru website, talking about her relationship as a director of social media with HubSpot, a company here in Boston that does a lot of work with social media and marketing. And instead of sort of just canceling the contract with HubSpot or just sort of complaining, Carlin was very direct, and she said, hey, this is what I would like. These are the things you're not doing. Please deliver. And I think that was a really good post, and it sort of is a model for those of us in higher education that work with a lot of different companies, that if you put a blog post out there sort of calling things out, calling folks to attention, you're going to get a reaction. And hopefully if there's a company like HubSpot, they're going to pay attention, they're going to listen, and they're going to serve folks in higher ed even more so than they do today. So folks, want to give you a quick reminder here. Again, the hashtag for the show is SAlive. That's #SAlive. And folks, we have a really awesome show today. I'm really excited, and I'm going to bring them on right now. So hopefully they're not saying any jokes because the audio is shared. So I'm going to put them on split screen here, folks. These are members of the social media team for the student unions at the University of Arizona. And I'm going to go forward and just introduce them. And if you could maybe raise your hand, let us know who you are, that kind of thing. Since we don't do name tags here on Student Affairs Live. And we will get everybody introduced here. Okay, so first off, we've got Kyle Oman. Kyle's the manager of social media for Student Affairs and is a communications grad student. We've got Casey Navarrete. She's the creative project manager for Arizona Student Unions and as well as a social media rep. That's a longer title than most professionals people have. She's also a media arts undergraduate student. We've got Kyle's younger brother, Benjamin. He is the Student Affairs video lead, so that's Benjamin Oman. He's also a media arts undergraduate student. And Stephanie Chonger is going to be joining us here, I think, in a little bit. She's in class. I mean, of all things, she couldn't come out of class to come to the show. But Stephanie's the creative project manager as well as a social media rep. And we also have joining a full-time staffer right now for the University of Arizona, Stephanie Cunningham. Stephanie is the marketing specialist for the Arizona Student Union. She has about 3 other titles, but that's the one that's the shortest. And finally, last but not least, we have Keith Wagner. He's a Student Affairs video assistant, as well as a media arts undergraduate student. So media arts really dominating this group. It seems like that's the theme here, it seems like, with you all. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm excited. I mean, you all have done some really innovative things with social media. It seems like there are social media efforts happening through student affairs units across the country, but you all sort of came to the surface, at least on my radar, as being one of the more comprehensive and strategic student-run teams. Could you talk about sort of how that came about? Because we talk about the professionals doing it, but we don't talk about the students doing it enough.
I'll start with this one. So when we kind of started this whole social media thing in terms of, about a year and a half ago, there was a Facebook page for the Student Union Memorial Center, and there was one of those. There was like 3 restaurants at like the same page. It was a scattered mess. So my plan was the PIP student, which is a program that we have here for up and coming student leads that want to advance their professional career. It's a class that they can take. So in that class, you learn about all sorts of different professional practices and things of that sort. With that, I took a project and said I want to revamp what we have with social media. So with that, I took it and I went and formed a plan. It was a nice 19-page breakdown of how we wanted to go about making this happen, and Stephanie helped me the whole way. But basically what we want to do is say, no, we're going to start fresh. We want a video series, but we don't really know what we want. We want a social media presence. We know what we want with that, and so we started with building a community. So we built the page, we built everything into it, got everybody involved with it as best we could, took down everything else that would have damaged search results, pretty much cleaned up our SEO, and then went ahead and built the community. And then we went in later in the fall and said, all right, now we're ready for a video series. We have something we want, we have something we're ready to produce, and we went forward with it.
Nice. Well, it seems like it's really comprehensive. I like that fact, is that you started out with some of the sort of housekeeping things. Like you said, you did some SEO activities and you sort of started with the site, but I like that it's sort of built, it's been layered. I mean, could you all talk about the video aspect? It seems like you do a lot with video, a lot with YouTube.
Yeah, well, video is very just important, and it's good to reach out to your audience, the students that you're trying to get to. Yeah, we just create a lot of content that tries to specifically reach the students, just as far as making sure that their voices are heard, but necessarily just informing them about things, stuff like that.
We also try and keep the student voice in the videos, so it's not something that administration's talking to them directly. It's us actually creating the scripts and talking to them and making it relatable.
Yeah, and we have like probably 5 or 6 versions of things that we did before SPF even was thought about. Like, we have just demo reels of just us doing stupid things, or really weird intro graphics that Ben would come up with in Motion or After Effects, and we would just kind of play around with these ideas. And it wasn't until that we kind of figured out just kind of a formula to go with in terms of getting students involved, making sure that it's student-oriented, and then pushing it out through a distribution network that we chose, that it really all kind of fit. But yeah, it's fun doing stuff with video like that.
You do, and we're all about acronyms in higher education, so I know that SPF doesn't stand for Sunscreen Protection Factor.
It does. Okay.
Nice.
No, it stands for Spaces, Places, Faces, which was the name of a blog idea that we had come up with in conjunction with our Facebook page. So we were going to have a blog that we posted articles to, and then that way they could link back to it and see everything if we didn't want to post it in like a 450-word status update. So that was just the name of the blog, and then it just made sense to transfer that over to the YouTube series, since we could post it on the blog and then we could link back to it and have people comment and so on and so forth. That interactive element kind of died out when we didn't really utilize the blog the way we wanted to, but SPF kind of lives on through this video series.
Now you do 2 video series, right? There's SPF and then there's the other one?
Yeah, Get the Know. It's our quick vlogging style type video series.
Okay. And what's the response been? Have you gotten a lot of feedback from students?
Well,
we have. We have, especially this year, after our first year running it, it's gotten attention. Obviously, we're on this wonderful show with you. And along with some newspaper articles written about us, as well as students recognizing us on campus, mostly Kyle, not me. But but yeah, and then also Chonger, Stephanie Chonger is in the Get in the Know, and she gets a lot of attention for her little videos as well.
Now, are you? I'm assuming, because at the end of the day, this is all about the auxiliary service, right? This is the campus union. The reason you're engaging in these efforts is to bring in essentially customers to the union and to sort of build community. In terms of your stats, what kind of stats are you tracking?
We're tracking a lot of analytics through Facebook and YouTube, and we're actually working on a big assessment project this year to encapsulate all the results from our spring semester, as well as what we're gaining over the fall semester with the view levels of our YouTube videos and how that relates to our Facebook postings. And we're actually going to try attaching some ROI equations to that data.
Nice. Now, Stephanie, I know that you have, as you told me earlier, an unlimited budget.
No, not at all.
Tell us about, what's it like starting out from scratch when you don't have a social media team, getting buy-in from folks who are able to sort of give you funds to go forward with this? I mean, sort of what was the inception for you as the full-time member of this?
Well, it's actually very organic, and I tended to inherit a lot of students from other places within the union. And my supervisor, Bill Sheba, who's the union director here at the Arizona Student Unions, he's really, really supportive of our social media marketing efforts. So he was really supportive of this program. And Kyle, going through the PIP program, his main project in that program was the unification of our social media efforts at the union, and it just kind of blossomed from there. I already had his brother Benjamin hired for me as video lead, so I promoted him to be in charge of the department. And I just gathered funds from various sources. We did videos for a lot of other departments and were able to gain some funding that way. Student salary lines from other departments were another method of funding, and it just kind of grew very organically from there, and the team works really, really well together. But I certainly don't have an unlimited budget. It's something that we manage as well as we can. So.
It's okay. You'll get there eventually, right?
Yeah, eventually, someday.
So, you know, we've talked a little bit about what you're doing with YouTube, and maybe could you talk about, you know, what's your setup like? I mean, what's the overhead? What kind of equipment do you use? How much time? I know that Ben is involved in sort of the video editing, and Keith is as well. What's sort of the time and hardware commitment to the video aspect?
From pre-production to actually putting out the video and distributing it, it's a process. It depends how big the video is, but usually it's about anywhere from like a week to a month that you have for each project.
Wow.
And keep in mind that we're also balancing classes in between doing all this. So it's one thing to be working in the office all summer and throughout the summer when you don't really have a whole lot else going on. But now that school's picked up again, that certainly complicates the equation. But I think we've managed pretty well.
Nice. By the way, I'd like to point out that you're in Arizona and you're wearing a sweater vest. It's Argyle. I think that's amazing. It's probably hotter here in Boston today. I mean, if I wore a sweater, I'd probably die of heat. So, what's your camera like? What kind of gear are you shooting with? I think people really want to get that technical aspect.
All right, so we were running all HD. We stopped using standard definition stuff.
Yeah, no, that's old school.
Yeah, as soon as the department started up, we purchased an HMC 150, which is the Panasonic brand of HD cameras. Variable frame rates, just different, different resolutions you can shoot in. Just a really good camera, solid setup. As far as audio goes, we had a lavalier mic that we used. We also had we had a shotgun mic and a lavalier mic that we used. Editing was all done on Final Cut Studio.
Nice.
And they kind of messed it up with, Apple is kind of disowning Final Cut Studio, so we might move over to Premiere. But yeah,
we also have two professional video editing iMacs, and we might be purchasing a third in the upcoming year. They're really high end. They're online now, and we have Final Cut Studio for both of those, and we might be switching to Adobe CS5 for both of those workstations as well. Our cameras that we actually use are Panasonic HMC 150 and an HMC 40. The latter is about a $2,000 camera. The former is more like a $5,000 camera. So they're pretty expensive. And we got some grant money to fund that.
I was going to say, because you're contributing to the myth that you have an unlimited budget.
I don't like supporting that, but I mean, that was through grant money and just other relationships that we've established. And then we just purchased a Canon T3i, which is really good supplemental camera. So we're running a 3-camera HD setup. We borrow a lot of audio equipment from our event services staff, actually, so that's been a really helpful relationship for lap mics, for other equipment. And yeah, I have these guys make recommendations to me based on what equipment they feel they need in terms of monitors, wires. They invite me wish lists for, if we won the lottery, what we could get, or what our absolute base needs are, and I just kind of balance the budget appropriately based on what we need, because I have some experience in video editing, and I'm a certified video editor, so I kind of make those balance calls based on what our budget's looking like that month.
Nice. And why YouTube? Why did you go ahead and pick YouTube as the service for your videos?
Why not? It's the most.
I get asked this question all the time. That's the thing. I mean, and I don't get to get away with why not.
Yeah, it's the most popular service out there. It has a really good plugin functionality for Facebook. It's really active, but I think the bottom line, end of the day, is that Vimeo is not really supposed to be used for business type accounts. So we kind of wanted to abide by the rules and stick to what we know. Plus, YouTube has some really great captioning functionality. We're able to close caption all of our videos.
Good statistics too. You
Yeah.
get a lot of analytics.
The analytics for YouTube are pretty cool. We can actually see when people stop watching our videos.
Yeah.
Like how long they go, like 2 minutes in, and they're like, I'm bored now. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
It's more like 20 seconds sometimes. No, but yeah, those functionalities and those reasons, I think.
Yeah.
Are
Well, I think, I mean, you hit it right. The accessibility, being able to caption everything, is, you know, the fact that you do is commendable, and the stats that you get too. That's awesome. Especially when you all shoot videos that they're fairly short, but if people are stopping out at 20 seconds, that's game changing. You gotta get the message out there right away. You can't mess around.
Yeah, I think that's a really huge part. I think a lot of higher ed professionals are like, we need a video. And they're like, we're thinking 5 or 6 minutes. And I'm like, no, don't
3
do
minutes
it.
max.
Yeah, like we do the minute series for Get in the Know. Like it's just 1 minute. I think the longest one is like 1 minute and 7 seconds. And that's only because we had like our intro graphic with a black slug attached to it at the beginning, which is like a black frame that you use for whatever, or at the end. I don't know. But keep it at a minute. And we've actually seen really good results for Get in the Know. Like it's the best series I think we've put out. And even though Casey and I are both in SPF, it's like, we do that one, and it's really good for getting like a lot of information out there. We have some following with it, but I love Getting the Know because it's so simple, it's fast, students like it, they're in and they're out, and that's it. I think that's really the key. Like you can make your 3 or 4 minute videos, and that's fine, but don't expect them to be, you know, these viral campaigns that you're hoping them to be. Like keep it short. And I think that's the moral of the story.
And the other note about YouTube is that it's also free. We don't necessarily have the web infrastructure to stream videos to anyone who clicks onto our website, because we're never sure what it's going to look like. Is it going to be 50 people? Is it going to be like 1,000 people? YouTube is set up to be able to support that at extremely high quality, surprisingly high quality actually for what it is for service. The captioning aspect is huge, and also YouTube has been reaching out to establish more EDU partnerships with universities, so it's really reaching into that market, and we just want to be there and available.
Nice. So I know you've done a lot with Facebook as well. Could you talk about what you're doing with Facebook?
Sure. Facebook's a lot of fun. I think it can be a really useful platform if you use it correctly. And by use it correctly, there's like, we have a list of rules that you have to abide by if you're going to post on the page. We actually have 2 documents. One's like, I will abide by these rules, and the second one is like the list of rules.
And they're contracts.
They're basically contracts. We have
Not
anybody that's an
documents,
administrator. Yeah. So anybody that's an administrator on our page, we try to have them sign this contract that's like, I won't go into the analytics, I won't look at the insights, they're just there to post, and everything else is mainly for the main administrators, like Casey, Stephanie, Ben, and I. But in terms of what we're doing with Facebook, I mean, right now we've been using it really well for customer service assessment. So we've been getting a lot of feedback from people that go to these restaurants that we have in the union, and they're like, I had a great experience, I love this. Or when we posted an article about some of our dining services philosophies, someone actually responded. You can see it on the page right now. It's like, so if you're going to do this, make sure that you offer whole wheat options and not just white bread. And we're like, great, that's a perfect example. So we just screenshot that and send it off to the customer service people and the dining services managers, so they're aware that, you know, there are people out there feeling a specific way. But along with customer service, like we just do these silly posts, try to get people involved, and we've had really, really good analytics and results from it. Like I posted a picture of a double rainbow at 10 o'clock at night and got 47 likes within like an hour. It's just, being available and having that Facebook page there is great, but unless you're going to stick to it, monitor it every day, post original content that's short, concise, that's not always selling something, then it's not really worth your time to do it.
Absolutely. And how many people total are able to post to the page?
I don't know.
I think it's in like the 20s right now.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
They have 20, but they don't all post.
Right. Well, and I was going to ask you, that was my next question, is how many posts per day go up?
I try to keep it between 3 and 5. It's kind of hard right now because we're in the midst of getting a new set of teammates from all over the union to post, and so we're trying to train them up. We've got the Wildcat Events Board, and they've got their own like subsection. We have ASUA. We're kind of like picking people to be like, okay, you can post from here and you can post from here. Just make sure that it follows this. I think we're going to try to, I mean, the more people you have on your page, the more dangerous it is, because you've got to worry about people getting into like, oh, I just downloaded this application on my Facebook page and it hacked everything. Like, we can't have that associated with our page, and I'm really worried and concerned about the people that do have these admin pages, because if they have admin privileges and they're associated with the page, I'm just curious to see how long it's going to take some of these hack developers to route into that and steal information, or maybe even, you know, use the page and hijack it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing with Facebook is that there aren't levels of control. You know, you don't have editors or authors. You're either full control or nothing.
Yeah, and I mean the page could just be deleted at any second. Like that's what keeps me up at night.
And like Kyle said, he posted something at 10 p.m. We monitor this all the time. If Kyle's not checking the page, when I get on Facebook, I go check the page to see what's going on, to see if anybody posted. And if one of our students responded to one of our posts, then I go on there and I'll respond, or Kyle will respond, which is really important to us too, is responding to them and letting them know, hey, we did see this, and hi, you know, we're here.
Yeah, and it's not just a 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much every waking moment for Kyle. We're on vacation and he's like, oh, I gotta check the Facebook and write someone back. I'm like, all right, you know, like it's just keeping up on it and making sure that you put a face to an organization.
Yeah.
And know that it's personable and that, you know, someone's actually listening to what you're saying.
When it's community management, and the cool thing is you all are so passionate about it, and you're segmented out in terms of what you're doing, and that you're able to do it, right? I mean, you know, Casey, your title is awesome. It's like Creative Projects Manager. What does that mean? I mean, with regards to the Facebook?
Well, it actually came up because when I was originally hired, I was a student historian here. I was supposed to archive a lot of stuff. And I got, you know, roped into all of this, which I happily roped in, but roped into all of this and became, you know, started talking to Kyle, and he started talking to me about the Facebook and started teaching me little things about the analytics and the ads for Facebook and what we could do to better our page and what we could do to better the videos that I became involved in. And so we needed something to kind of wrangle all that I do here together. And Stephanie's like, you come up with certain job titles and then run them by me. And we came up. We came up with like 3 different ones, and they kept changing because something was wrong. Somebody already had that title or something, and then finally I was like, Creative Project Manager, and she's like, okay.
Yeah, read the job description and we got it down.
Yes, and we got it down. So it just kind of embodies everything, and I work for a lot of other areas in the union too. I do graphic design for different departments, and these employee info screens that we have running for employees to see information about the union. So it just, the way it ties into Facebook is that
She does that for us. It's like, hey Casey, make a post, or hey, we need to come up with a contest idea, like, let's think about this. Like I can pull her in and it's not gonna be like stepping on anybody's toes.
Mm-hmm. And then also we're also looking at, like she said, we're doing the analytics and everything for this past year, so I'm helping with that as well.
Well, I know that you all have you know, a lot of departments in student affairs units, they'll put up a page or they'll create a channel on YouTube, but you all have made it look aesthetically pleasing. You've done a lot of branding. Could you talk about what that means to your office in terms of branding and social media?
Who wants to take that one?
Well, we work very closely with our marketing department, the marketing department for student affairs. And so they're working really hard to ensure that all student affairs departments have consistent branding across social media. So they actually do all the graphic design for our YouTube and our Facebook and our Twitter, and then we just incorporate that into the back-end workflow. So they've actually been really instrumental in ensuring that we are portraying the U of A brand positively and just making sure all departments are consistent in terms of how our pages look.
As well as in our videos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, I mean, because it seems like, especially with the YouTube channel, it's just really, you know, it's vibrant and it pops, and Stephanie, who's not here, but you know, the video of her with the blue background, it's just I think the production values are really high too. Yeah, exactly.
Ben on Final Cut Studio, so he uses Apple Color to color correct a lot of the videos. You want to talk a little bit about that, Ben?
Yeah, we've started color grading most of our stuff.
Yeah, nice. No, it looks really good. I think that it shows that it's not just shot with the camera and then uploaded, like this show.
Yeah.
So I guess you're on Facebook. You're doing quite a bit there. Now you've integrated quite a bit too. I know. Are you still using apps on the Facebook page?
We have one that promotes our YouTube channel, and we have another that does. I think it's just the YouTube channel at this point. It's really, I mean, apps are fine. I try to not upload as many as possible just because I don't know what they're gonna do. Like I don't trust them as much, and not to say that they're not bad. I'm really skeptical of everything.
You're a grad student. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, they just teach you to be skeptical. No, we just have the YouTube one, and then something that we found to be really useful that Facebook allows, and something that they used to have an app for, it's like the polling option, so you could do, you could submit polls and have people like click on them. Well, thanks to Facebook questions, that kind of gets automated throughout the Facebook process, and people love filling those things out. Like, it's like this. I mean, I'm like keeping it to myself because I kind of like how successful it's been, but that's a little secret. Like, use those Facebook questions appropriately, but do it in a fun way. Like, what did you do this summer? And have like 5 options that are just completely ridiculous, and people will be like, yeah, I did do that, or I can relate to that, or that's funny. Like, they just like to click it. And we get huge response rates, like upwards of 50 people sometimes just filling out questions.
Well,
and so we use that for anything.
Do you think that because you're sort of building the foundations of these communities, that when you do have something serious to say, or when you are trying to maybe pitch something or sell something, that your response rate is a little higher because they're already paying attention to what you have to say?
Definitely.
Yeah, it does, but it has to be put in like a very specific voice. Like, the page itself has its own voice, and it's pretty close to like how I speak, which is kind of troubling to speak to other people, and you're like, okay, say it like this, and they're like, but I'm not you.
Which sometimes I run my post by him to make sure that it's in the same voice. Because we're very different. I'm a little bit more serious. He's a little bit, funnier.
It's out there.
Yeah. And so a lot of the time when I post something, I'll write it up and then I'll send it to him, and he'll either be perfect or he'll be like, oh, maybe tweak that word there, or maybe put an exclamation point at the end. So.
Well, I think this is a sort of a good question then for Stephanie, is that, right now it sounds like the Facebook voice is Kyle's voice, or, sort of Kyle's voice. And this happens all the time, right? Students eventually graduate, or in Kyle's case, they graduate and they still stay. But what happens when Kyle, maybe he gets his PhD and he stays around for like a postdoc, and then he finally leaves? Then what happens? What's the contingency plan for when students leave? I mean, when Ben graduates early.
Well, it's actually kind of a big issue because we're also losing Stephanie Chongor, KC, will be graduating this year as well. So I am working on a transition plan to get new students in. The problem is that my department grew my department grew very organically. Like I said, I kind of inherited people, and we developed this program from scratch. But I made sure to hire 2 new video students, and Ben's trained them very competently this semester, so they'll be able to take off when he does study abroad in the spring. But he'll be back again next year. As for Kyle's voice, he'll be around for another couple of years now. So, but in that last year, we will be transitioning the page over to other people. So we'll be ensuring that the voice is relatively consistent, but at least people become accustomed to hearing this other voice in there, whoever takes over his position. So there is a transition strategy in place, including we're going to be doing a casting call next week for people to start a new series that we're planning on breaking out. In the spring semester, we're going to do casting calls for getting to know an SPF to get new faces in there, and we'll be introducing them throughout the spring semester, so it's not a really abrupt switchover when these guys graduate.
Nice.
So yeah, long-term transition plan. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to be really sad, of course, but it will.
There'll be like a social media period of mourning. The Facebook page, everything will be black and morose. And,
Like a mask, yeah.
all the videos will be shot sort of film noir style for a little bit.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Nice, like smoke coming up. It'll be good. So I guess this is for the students around the room. A lot of times, I think departments will try to have it be completely student run, right? There isn't a lot of oversight. How helpful has it been to have a full-time staffer sort of mentoring you, guiding you, mixing it up with you?
We have Chongor.
Oh, hi.
Hello. Let me switch over.
Okay, come on in.
Oh, thanks, Steph.
I'll just be in the background.
This is actually perfect timing because now you're talking about your boss, and she's totally off the frame though. She's off the frames. It's good.
So you're asking about how it's been to have a full-time staff work with us and within this process, right?
How helpful has it been in terms of resources, mentoring, guidance, etc.?
Infinitely, yeah. Basically, it's really helpful, at least for some of us who didn't really know about this kind of thing before, and having Stephanie Cunningham always available there for any questions that we have, and also kind of leading us on this. And then she also gives us a lot of room to do our own thing, and come up to her with ideas, and she'll just sit there and be really open to it. And why do you want to do this? And what are the positives and what are the negatives? And let me go ahead and think about it. And
Sometimes.
But it also helps when, like I said earlier, I mean, like we're all students as well, and so when one of us has class, like sometimes I'll be in the office alone, I'll be video editing, and I know I can go to Stephanie as a resource if I have a question or if I need to run something by her that Ben isn't able to like readily address. So that helps out a ton.
Nice.
It's good to have like an administrative eye on certain projects, because sometimes like I'll be finished with the video, I'll be like, all right, can you run through this really quick? And she's like, you can't say that, and then it's just like stuff that you wouldn't normally see or think is a bad thing, but it's just good to have another filter to pass all your content through.
Nice. Now, do you all get to go to conferences at all, or are there any professional development things that you've done, either at Arizona or elsewhere?
We did ACY last year. We're gonna do ACY in NACIS this year, and there's a rumor of us potentially seeing ACY again in February. So
We'll see.
there's a rumor. It's not confirmed.
Folks heard it here first. Totally unsubstantiated rumor that they might be there.
Yeah, but we're really excited about it. Like, it's so much fun for us to be like just sharing what we do, being able to talk to other people and be like, yes, like it's not that hard to start things. You can do it with like a Canon T2i camera that you can pick up at Walmart. Like, you can do it. Just make sure that you do it in a good voice. Make sure that you have really good content. Like, it's just fun for us to be able to talk to people and get the attention that we love so much.
Yes.
So.
And not only that, but sharing it, but also these are wonderful opportunities for us. We're students. There's not many other students that have these opportunities like we do. I mean,
especially most of us are media arts majors, and so we're already kind of gaining industry standard experience while still being undergrads for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. You're dipping your toes into the real world automatically. Now, Stephanie, you're kind of like the on the air for your own. You're the solo person, right? For your sort of 1 minute clips.
I'm a loner.
Yeah, I mean, because I know Kyle, who's with your videos? It's you and is it Casey? Okay.
Well, we did one video with Stephanie and I. It was for convocation for new freshmen.
We have terrible chemistry.
Yeah, that just totally bombed, right?
It doesn't work. No, but it did for that one video. Like, we made it work and it was okay, but like we generally don't put Stephanie with anybody else.
Yeah.
Originally, it was supposed to be you two, though.
I tend to outshine anyone so that I pair with.
Well said. Well said. Well, and I think that when you first came on the air, you sort of developed your style and you go through the videos and there's sort of a way that you've done them. They're fun, energetic. Was that always part of the plan, or did it just sort of happen over time?
Ben and I work a lot together, and it really helps that Ben and I have a very similar sense of humor. So there was no way we were going to do it without energy and humor. Like, that just is something we wanted, because we were kind of taking examples like William Ray Johnson from =3 and a lot of different video logging people on YouTube.
and then she gets closer to the mic.
And like, they were funny, so we wanted to be funny too.
We've got sensitive audio equipment here on the show.
Sorry.
It's okay. Earlier, Kyle was making the entire camera shake as he pounded his fist. Apologies to the viewing audience if you just lost your hearing for a moment. We have a question from Georgia Gwinnett. That's a Twitter handle here. Great chat with Arizona Unions. What sort of connections do you have or have made with the school's main Facebook page? Collaborations.
Yeah, we're trying to get a little bit more close to them. It's handled externally, so to say, with UA Communications, which is not really part of Student Affairs. But we've been working with them in terms of getting content from and to them. Like, when we go out and shoot B-roll, like, we'll kind of exchange content and like footage and just raw footage and hand it off to them. And sometimes we get it from them as well. But in terms of Facebook page, like,
we got our mobile app video on there.
yeah, they operate in a separate entity. Like, they'll sometimes retweet some of our stuff and post some of the videos that we do, and that's great. But it's operated kind of externally, not really part of us. But they do help us out on occasion and throw some of our content out there.
And it literally like doubles our views whenever we do that, if not like quadruples them.
Well, especially when they've got how many thousands and thousands of followers on Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter a little bit. I haven't seen you tweeting a whole lot. It doesn't seem like your strategy with Twitter has as much energy as, say, YouTube or Facebook. Why is that?
The Arizona Union's Twitter page?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's specifically for a reason. Like, what we did with that is we linked our Facebook page to our Twitter. Like, what we found is that putting a lot of energy into Twitter isn't necessarily where we want it to be. Like, we're really good with Facebook, we're really good with YouTube, Twitter's kind of there to be what we need it to be when we want it to be, but we're finding now that with these incoming freshmen, they're tweeting a lot more, which is good, but it's only going to get bigger and bigger, I think. So we'll be seeing more Twitter stuff within the future, but we really just utilize the Twitter feed as a listening station. So what we do is we take the Foursquare check-ins and we have a search term out for every single restaurant location and the address and anything with student union in it. And so it's like a whole tweet deck list of everything. And so anytime someone tweets or checks in or mentions anything close to what the union does, we get that. We can respond back to them and say, hey, thanks for checking us out. Let us know if you have any questions. Hasn't really been happening a whole lot lately, but that's just because we're not finding a whole lot of students that are really engaging on Twitter, not even with the main UA page. So finding those students is difficult, but maintaining that conversation, upkeeping that Twitter page to be something where it's like, hey, look at how active we are, but nobody's really being active back to us. Like, it makes more sense for us to be in Facebook.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Well, and it seems like, you know, some schools, Twitter is where it's at for them. That's where there are, you know, legitimate communities of students. And it sounds like at University of Arizona, with your audience, it's Facebook, it's through the videos on YouTube. So I think you've done it right in terms of you haven't tried to create a space for community and say, hey, come over here. You've basically gone where the community's already formed and started sort of interacting with them there, which it tends to be a lot easier. Ed Cabellin asked a question on Twitter. A good friend of ours here, Ed, says, what is your favorite social media effort and why? And he also hopes to see you in Boston for the ACUI conference.
Ed, it'd be a pleasure. What is our current favorite one?
We're all pretty big fans of Getting the Know.
We like Getting the Know. Well, you know, I think that's a two-pronged answer. We've got, I don't know. It's a really tough question. Well, I mean, what does he mean by approach? Right? What do you think he's trying to get at here? Do you think it's more of like, what's our favorite thing that we've done on the page, or what's our favorite element?
You can tell that Kyle's in grad school now. He's sort of asking us to define our terms. It's the standard sort of back and forth. I think that it's the kind of thing where I think you said it, right? It's a Stephanie show. She wins, and I think that there you go. But I mean, honestly, like for example, I'll say that I loved the video when you went around and you sort of said, hey, do you have a talent? And I think that was SPF. And you two went around, Casey and Kyle, and you said, hey, do you have a talent? You had people singing and doing all kinds of funky stuff. And that was awesome. It was just fun. And as an outsider, as someone who hasn't been there to the union, hasn't been to the University of Arizona, it made me want to go check it out and thought, hey, this is a really fun place.
Well, now that you mentioned that, this year we're trying to bring in a lot more student, participants and
more faces.
Yeah, more faces, more interaction. We want to connect with the students a lot more, so you'll be seeing a lot more interviews in this series. A lot more kids popping up on screen randomly, things like that. So.
And it's actually like, to go on with that, like doing that last year was kind of a task, but doing it this year is way easier, and it's because we did these orientation videos with Casey and I, where we just kind of we did 4 videos that were about the meal plans. There was an involvement center on campus, these things that were being shown at orientation, so people saw them, and then they saw us. And so when we went around the first video that we did, so if you check out the YouTube page and you see the first episode of SPF, there's this interview segment where we just went around this thing called Taste of the Union. And the most fun thing we've ever done, because we were just walking around, we'd be standing in a location, and 3 people would walk by, and be like, hey, you, yeah, we see your videos. And we'd be like,
when we were doing the introduction, before we started interviewing everybody, we were just standing there, and this kid stands there and was watching us. We're like, hi, and he's like, I watch your videos. Like, oh, do you want to be on camera? Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. And it looks like Ardith is tweeting out the videos right now on Higher Ed Live with the SAlive hashtag.
So she is.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing, right? I think that, unfortunately, Ben and Keith, you guys don't get the recognition. You're the behind the scenes. You need to watermark yourselves into the final few frames or something.
Finally put myself in the intro this year. That was the first step in recognition. Last year, everyone goes up to Kyle, oh my gosh, it's Kyle. Just kind of stand there.
Hey, you know what though? You make them look good, right? You make them look good. So, talk about the interaction or integration with your social media channels and the standard website. I know that went through a redesign, a year ago or so, maybe. What was that like?
It happens. There was a page, I don't know, they redesigned their website and they wanted different content for different pages. So we were able to, whatever content we produce now, there's a place for it on the website. we always link back to the website in terms of anything that we're doing when we put out like events. So if the event's not created on Facebook, or if it is created on Facebook, every single time it's at the calendar, which is located on the actual website, which is something that's new, is because we didn't have Google Calendar plugins before. So now anybody around the union that has access to Google Calendar can add all sorts of stuff. And then that's where we kind of pull a lot of our content from in terms of posting. So we go on the Google Calendar, we see what's happening for the day, we post about it, and then we link back to it. So it's just kind of a circle that we get caught in, or that we want the user to get caught in between going to Facebook, going to the website, going back to Facebook. But yeah.
How successful have contests been? Have you run any contests?
We did one contest.
Oh, hold on here. I think we're losing our connection. Let's see if they come back here in just a second. All right, I think we're back on the air, at least with audio. Hey, are you guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
Hi.
Okay, awesome.
Unfortunately, Kyle didn't make it.
Yeah.
The blackout.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll get you back on the air here. There we go. So anyway, I think we're just talking about sort of the social media integration and some of the things that you're doing. Let's switch gears a second here and talk about, what does success mean to you?
Wow, that's really.
I know we went deep there.
That's a beard stripping.
I think success means to us having a really good interaction in terms of our Facebook and YouTube channels. So when we put out a video, we like to see like a bunch of views right away, and views are great, and it's a good way to gauge like how many times people saw it, obviously, but it's a good way to see like, is this content interesting to students? Are people wanting to watch this? And if it's a really low view count for like 2 weeks straight, then we know that that video just either it didn't get distributed the right way, or just people aren't very interested in what we're putting out. So we saw that last year actually with, we put out one video, we traced it back to this one video. We don't know if it was the video, but it just wasn't, like we had like 400 views, and we had like 500 views, and then we had like 200 views. We're like, what did we do wrong? And we just
on the other ones, I'm hitting refresh just over and over again.
Thank you. It's like I need to watch it again. It was so good.
I send it to all my family members.
I wish. That'd be great.
So what kind of reports do you have to give? I mean, who puts together your reports? I mean, at the end of the day, I think Stephanie, your boss, was talking about, William Sheba, her boss. I'm assuming there has to be some reporting going on. You also might know William as Bill. I gave him the formal title.
Yeah, Phil.
We all report to
I
Stephanie.
think I'm coming back here.
Sorry.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I track all of our analytics, and I just usually report them back to people who are interested and they ask, and I trace all of our view counts, and I'm starting to trace more in-depth analytics, including our feedback ratios, and since YouTube introduced this new hotspot analysis thing where people can view where in the video people are dipping out, we're starting to analyze. I also have an assessment student who I've assigned to this, which is really convenient, but we can analyze the variables in the video that are causing people to, I have a very diverse department, all the variables in the video that are causing people to start dropping off at certain points. So I just compile these into reports and I just distribute them to whoever really asks for them. But
Well, and how many students then overall do you have working on your social media and assessment efforts?
well, okay, so I have these guys working on video and social media, as well as another video student. And I also have an assessment student with 3 survey students, and I also run student human resources and the PIP program that they were mentioning earlier. So it's kind of an amalgamation of things.
You have an infinite supply of student employees. How many hours a week do you all work? What's the sort of hourly commitment to this?
You don't want to know. We have a taskmaster, and her name is Stephanie. I think sometimes we work the max we can work, like 30 hours, and that's it. But I think between 20 and 30 for all of us. Yeah. But there's something to say. I mean, you were just talking about like having an infinite number of students, and like we really like picked our students well. So I mean, I've been here for a while in terms of with student affairs and marketing. And then bringing Ben on, and then seeing Casey hired, and then kind of absorbing Chonger, and then hiring Keith and Ben. Monty is their other video student, and it's actually a really hard process to go through all the applications and the interview process and try to find someone that's going to A, fit with our team, B, has a mentality, and C, like knows what they're doing in terms of video. So when it comes to finding replacements for like Casey and Stephanie in the future, it's going to be really tough to go through the more applicants and students because, I mean, people like see, oh, social media, like, yeah, I can be on Facebook, like, that's not what it's about. Or like, yeah, video, I made one of those for a journalism project in high school, like, no, like, we don't want it. And we had to interview a lot of people, and it's not that we're being like pretentious or stuck up, it's just that we really want quality people, and so finding that process and really trying to find people within that.
What are some of the characteristics that you're looking for? You know, you said you don't want people that just are used to using Facebook. Well, what is it that you're looking for?
We asked what your favorite dinosaur was.
Yes. Velociraptor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the one.
Correctly.
You can tell a lot by the answer.
Stegosaurus over here. I hope I passed the interview.
Yeah, I tend to look for students who are willing to learn and have that capacity to learn more so than people who necessarily have a lot of experience. And I think that's really valuable. Like when we hired Keith and Monty, our other video student, I wasn't necessarily looking for students who have been through 2, 3, 4 years of media arts. I was looking for people who could really learn the material that we need them to learn, like the skills. We can train them completely in Final Cut, train them in Adobe Creative Suite. With our project managers, we're looking for people who are organized, just willing to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And yeah, you guys are awesome. willing to be part of the team is really what I look for. But experience doesn't hurt, but mainly that's what I'm looking for.
And like I said with the training thing, she trains us all very well. And she's like, stop, and we're all like, I'm just kidding. But she let me train on Adobe InDesign and along with Photoshop and a couple other things as well. And I know Chandra is looking into training on those things as well. Yeah.
But it sounds like, you know, not only have you hired really great people, you're also giving them the tools to do great things. You know, you're not using Microsoft Publisher or, you know, some of the like freebie video editing software out there, and you're not doing it on like a slow computer.
But if you maker just wasn't cutting it anymore.
Our secret animation. No, yeah, I like to give them a lot of creative freedom, but I also need them to be able to produce on industry standard equipment. So I stay as up to date as I possibly can on the industry and make recommendations. And I have them make recommendations to me on if they feel they need a new workstation, if they need new equipment, and I can't always make those purchases for them or help them, you know, get those pieces of equipment, but I'll always listen and try to balance the budget appropriately with what they need. Nice. And training books too, lots of training books.
Oh, yeah, training.
Yeah, what are you reading? What books are you looking at?
I just went through the color user manual this summer. That was on my list to do things. Let's see.
So, I mean, yeah, Ben has myself and our other video assistant doing the exact same things, going through the Apple training series. Like I went through Motion this summer. I've gotten kind of halfway through color, and it's just learning a lot of information that you wouldn't like. That normally, like, if I hadn't been with this job, I'd be like, oh, it's okay, that video, I can just throw it out. But now I'm like, I don't know, I feel like now the videos, like, my own video skills are getting so refined because I'm gaining experience with this job and with these people.
There's a great book called How Video Works, and that was the first assignment I gave them. I'm like, you need to read this entire book. And then just, yeah.
It's a good book.
Yeah, well, it's like you're taking classes in addition to taking classes.
Pretty much.
Any other books or resources that you all look to as sort of leading the way or guiding what you're doing?
Well, Kyle definitely always sends us links about social media and things like that. So a lot of articles, and I'm also kind of looking through Motion and playing with it sometimes. And Cunningham also sends us articles that she thinks we should read to organize ourselves as well for creative project management and things like that.
Nice. So what's the future then of this social media video team at the University of Arizona Student Unions? What's next?
Why is everybody looking at me? I mean, I'll answer it. I think right now we're really focused on getting some quality content out there for fall and spring, and really working to see what the next step is in terms of getting new talent in here to work with Ben and the video team here. We're doing a lot of projects. We do, I mean, as fun as everything is for SPF and getting to know, like, we're doing client projects as well, so we're moving along in terms of student affairs related videos. So we did stuff for admissions in the summer, and we'll probably continue doing work for them. Someone just walked in.
That's okay. We're professional here. People just walk in, we shake it off. It's fine.
Yeah. But we're moving up and out in terms of, like, we did a lot of work for the student union, but we've got a formula for that. We know what kind of content we can push out, and now we're kind of looking outwards and saying, okay, what can we pull in from student affairs? Like, what other areas of the university need? Just not just video help, but what can we attach onto SPF that would make it more of a well-rounded experience. So yes, you're learning about what's happening at the union, but you're also learning what's happening at the rec center, what's happening at campus health. And I think having a really good video team that knows how to incorporate all that different kind of content and make it into one project is really important. And we finally have like that mojo, so to say, for this year. So I think for us, we're going to be moving, we're not moving out of the unions, but we're looking outward and seeing what we can pull in and how we can make it more of a unified experience for when you watch this video. Are you getting a sense of that the university has this, or are you getting a sense that it's just the union?
Right,
So
the sort of brand within the brand.
yeah, exactly. So, and anybody else want to tap into that?
I think Kyle made a lot of great points too. Sorry, but and it kind of tying in with the whole how we measure our success. Like it's not just the interactivity on the page, but I would also love to see in our future a noticeable increase in attendance to union events and to our department's events, to actually see when we heavily market an event, to see an increase in attendance and a lot of people coming. And maybe we can ask them, have you heard about it? And they'll say our page. Like that's kind of a good goal for us.
Which on that note, the first video that we did at the Taste of the Union was this event here that we held at the Union where students can come and they could test all these different kinds of food with free samples. And I talked to our director, Bill Sheba, and he said that he was really impressed at how many people were here. And hopefully that was a little bit because of our Facebook and our social media integration.
Yeah, we did market it a lot in advance.
There's so much information out there, and it's just hard to transmit that to students because they're in their own world. So it's like reaching out to them and not trying to like sell them, you know, or like advertise to them, but just like make sure that they know the information is there.
Do you do any sort of post-event assessment to sort of ask students, hey, you're here, did you find out about it because of this?
Not currently, but we are planning to do some brand recall surveys towards the end of the fall semester into the spring, now that we've really solidified the concept.
Nice. And one of the things I wanted to ask earlier and I sort of forgot, I think maybe right around the time we lost the audio, who does all your captioning of your videos? Because you do so many videos.
I do actually. It's really boring and I can get it done pretty fast, so I just caption everything we put out.
I've done 2.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was assigned to learn over the summer, but oh my goodness, much respect.
Monty
It scares me.
Yeah, Monty, I'm training
Or on the
Monty
videos
to
too.
caption.
What do you use to caption?
I use CaptionTube actually, your recommendation.
Oh.
It was.
That seems so surprised. It's a good recommendation.
Yes.
I put so much stuff out there, I have no idea. Well, you all have been doing a great job. It's been fun to sort of see what you put out there. Any final thoughts for the SAlive audience? I know they've enjoyed watching this, and you're going to get a lot of views, by the way, on your stuff. People are really excited about a student-run team.
You know, we're open to talk to people if they have any questions, like if they want recommendations in terms of equipment, or if they just need to see like what a social media plan looks like, or if they even just want a one-on-one like Skype call just for some consultation. Like it's something that we're available for, and it's fun for us to do that. So if they have questions, by all means, shoot us over on Twitter. You can personal account me or Arizona Unions. What else?
We really enjoy what we do. We're really grateful for it.
Yeah. That's good. And I just want to also say that this is entirely student-run and student-driven, and I think that's really valuable because they can market to their peers better than the administration possibly could. But just be prepared to always be available for mentorship guidance and obviously budget to give them money. And if you really want to do a program like this well, both social media and video, you need to be prepared to spend some dollars to get there. Because the HD equipment is expensive, Facebook advertising is expensive, so you need to have a solid budget.
Absolutely. Well, you all, in my opinion, are kind of a model program for how it can be run. So well done. And again, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And yeah, you all can come back on anytime.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that was the student-run social media team, the web team as well, for the University of Arizona Student Unions. They do an awesome job. They're waving at me right now, even though they're off the air, but that's cool. They're still excited to be on the show. What an awesome show, folks. We'll get the archive up as soon as possible. Want to give another quick shout out to our sponsor. Student Affairs Live is sponsored by Integral, the creators of the Schools app on Facebook. Please be sure to check out their webinar series about how they can help you leverage Facebook to increase yield and retention. And that happens this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we're sending out a tweet with that link right now. Folks, coming up on next week's show, we're going to have an interesting discussion. We're going to have Will Barrett come on, and Will is a student affairs professional and faculty member at Indiana State, and we're going to have an interesting conversation around spiritualism and higher education. Will wrote a really interesting article about what it meant to be an atheist within higher education, within student affairs. And so we're going to have a conversation around spirituality and higher education from Will's point of view. And it should be really interesting. And I know that I am very excited. So folks, this has been Student Affairs Live. My name's Eric Stoller, and we will see you next week.